How many of us go through our day-to-day lives driving to and fro and ask ourselves, how can I be a better driver? Or, or am I truly driving safe? Well, I'm delighted to share with all of you that there are multiple ways to enhance and improve your driving skills that I'm going to share with you today. The origins of driving cars date back to 1789 when French engineer Nicolas Cugnot invented the first vehicle. Then it was revolutionized with the internal combustion engine vehicle made by German engineer Gottlieb Daimler in 1885. And then it was revolutionized even more by Henry Ford in 1908 when he made the Model T cars by the Ford Company that sold over 15 million units in the United States alone and ushered in the motor age. And you can find all these notes at driversed.com. And with the usher in of the motor age, there came a lot more people started driving on the roads, because back then driving was more of a luxury before cars were mass produced. And our ability to drive safely and securely in this day and age is still more important than ever than it was back then. I've been driving since I was 17 years old, and before I started driving, I took an extensive driver's education course that helped me learn how to drive and become more aware of the rules of driving. Learning new driving techniques will help drivers, young and old, operate and maneuver their cars in a safe-like manner that benefits everyone on the road. I'm going to start by sharing some uncommon driving tips. Then I'm going to share useful information on how to drive in unfamiliar places. Then I'm going to share some simple tips that will be given to illustrate how to drive more safely. Uncommon driving tips can help all drivers when they find themselves driving and operating their cars. Adjusting your side mirrors so your car disappears from its view allows for a better viewing of other cars. Another good tip is not common amongst drivers is remembering to pay attention to what other drivers around you are doing instead of the road signs on the highway. Interestingly enough, the type of music drivers listen to can also affect their driving. Based on a study in Israel, when listening to high tempos and boisterous beats, drivers are more likely to drive recklessly than other drivers, whereas people who didn't listen to any music at all were more focused on the road. Turning on your headlights during the day can help reduce the risk of accidents by over 30%. By engaging and using your park brake from time to time, it can help ensure that the parking brake works safely when you need it to. And the last tip that is uncommon amongst drivers is that if you have a tire blowout, gently press on the accelerator until you can gain control of the car. Then take your foot off the accelerator so the car can conveniently come to a complete stop. And all these tips can be assessed through Steiner, Green, and FinerInjuryLawyers.com. I just shared uncommon driving tips that could come in handy when driving. Now I'm going to share some tips for driving in unfamiliar places. The next few tips are going to help you when you are driving in unfamiliar places and you need to know where you're going next. Paying attention to the speed limits that are either posted on the road or in the GPS can help you greatly and can help you regulate your speed in case you need to approach a residential or industrial area. Always be careful not to always rely on the GPS system and ask for directions if you're not sure where you're going before your trip. Before driving to a new area, drivers should do some online research about the surrounding area and the places that are surrounded. So if they find themselves lost, they can go to a place where they looked up and easily get back on the road. These next 3 tips can be really beneficial when driving to unfamiliar places and can help drivers emotionally and mentally stay in control. If a turn is stopped or missed, gently go to the nearest exit and turn around and go back to see if you can find your way back to the correct route. And always make your intentions clear when driving in new areas so other drivers on the road can know when you are signaling for a turn or need to make an abrupt stop. These useful tips for driving in unfamiliar places can be found on domainlaw.com. Now I'm going to give very simple but useful tips that help drivers operate their cars more safely from a general perspective. These last set of tips are very general in nature from a driving sense, but they are still very essential and need to be readdressed so we make sure that we are driving safely. A seatbelt needs to be worn at all times. because a seatbelt saves lives more on an average rate than when you're not wearing your seatbelt. If a driver has a child or multiple children who will be riding in the vehicle with them, they need to be secure in a proper child seat and according to their age, and they also need to be put behind the driver, not in the front seat. Speeding should be avoided at all costs. And in doing so, it will help drivers not only remember to obey the speed limit, but it will also in turn help drivers conserve fuel for the road ahead. When driving, a driver's cell phone should always be put away to avoid any unnecessary accidents that might be caused when using your phone while driving. When a driver regularly checks the tread water, batteries, and tire pressure on their vehicle, the driver gets a better understanding of their car and what they need to do to fix it. If that still does not help, stepping out of the car and also backing up and making sure you're securely backing up at the right place at the right time will help you as well. If you need to, getting out of the car and making sure you're backing up at the right place can also help as well. And all these tips can be found at consumerreports.com. To sum up all the useful information that has been shared today, learning new driving techniques will help drivers young and old operate and maneuver their cars in a safe-like manner that will benefit everyone on the road. I gave a quick summary of the origin of the automobile. I explained on common tips about driving that most people are not aware of. I shared insight on what drivers should do if driving in an area that is unfamiliar to them, and then I gave general safety driving tips that most people know but should be reminded of that will help them on the road. Now, the next time all of you decide to step behind the wheel, you will now know and have useful tips on your next trip that will help you drive safely and securely to your destination.